Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. With this business webinar series, we are presenting to you a great learning experience at the comfort of convenience of your office. On the pursuit of better understanding, we decide to reach out to all our customers and help them to explore benefits and unleash the true potential of TallyPrime. This is our knowledge series where you will get to learn topic by topic everything around TallyPrime, from the most basic of futures to the most crucial of business reports. My name is Mohammed Azhar and I work with Mass Financial Consulting in Riyadh, and I will be your host for this session. With me, Mr. Basit, who will be taking us through Tally. Before getting started, to ensure a flavorless experience, all the participants will remain on mute throughout the session to avoid any noise and disturbance. Please be informed that we are recording this session as to make the webinar available for future reference and will be shared through our YouTube channel. We hope to have uninterrupted session. If any network or any technical glitches, I apologize in advance. We will try our best to make this experience seamless. If you have any question during the presentation, please type them in the question box on your control panel. We will be bring them up during the Q&A at the end. Now, let me hand over the session to Mr. Basit.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope my voice is clear and you can able to see the screen as well. If there is any interruption, please let me know. So I would like to welcome everyone again. So this is, as Azhar said, this is a knowledge series on TallyPrime. We are going to look at specifically one specific part of purchase process, which is going to concern about importing basically. So a lot of companies in Saudi, what we do, we purchases goods from outside Saudi, and when we do that, there are additional costs involved in the purchase process, namely from customs, clearing charges, certification charges. So how do we effectively allocate these costs to the items that we are purchasing, and how to get accurate profit and loss for each and every purchases that we do. So specifically in this session, we are going to see one by one how to allocate customs duty, agent fees, any shipment charges, freight charges, local charges such as certification charges, such as SASU, Saber, these kind of charges. How do we allocate to a specific purchase? We are going to see. So there are a couple of things that is needed in our system to record additional cost. I'm going to take you through that process, but these are the things that we need beforehand. So we need a ledger for the service provider. Service provider basically Saudi Customs Department, right? To whom we pay the Saudi customs duty. The agent ledger, where we pay the clearance charges, and then the expenses ledger, the actual ledger that we use to record the duties and expenses. And then we need the currency, like for example, when we are purchasing in dollar or dirhams or any other currency, that would be created in Tally, and other things such as stock items and other purchase and sales ledgers. So these are the things that we need in Tally. Now I will do a hands-on on Tally now. Landing cost. So the first part, this is the very basic Tally. I just created a company. There is no customizations or anything. What we are going to see today is available in the default version of Tally. So the first thing first, we need to have a couple of ledgers, right? So first would be the supplier ledger. So I'm going to create a ledger. Usual process, I'll go to create ledger, and I'm going to give a name of the ledger. So for example, Mikai Group. Let's say this is our supplier. So in suppliers, normally we put it under creditors. Creditors meaning accounts payable or vendors are suppliers. And then default settings for the supplier, and then This the second thing after selecting centric creditors, the second thing you have to make note is the country. This is very important because that comes into play when we pay VAT and all. So this is a company which is situated outside Saudi. So I'm going to select now, for example, UAE. Okay. It can be any supplier from any country. It can be from China, it can be from Hong Kong, it can be from US, it can be from Europe, anywhere. So wherever the supplier country is, we select that appropriate country. So for UAE, you will still ask to enter their VAT number, right? So we have a terminology of calling it VAT number. They have a terminology of calling it TRN number, which is tax registration number. If we are selecting any other country, like for example, let's say Hong Kong, so there is no option to enter any tax details and all. So for UAE, we know that they have a tax registration number and all. We can able to choose that. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to select the country as Hong Kong. So this is the first thing, supplier creation, basic creation. Once we created that, the second thing I'm going to create is the purchase account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a purchase account with a classification called import purchases. So this will come in handy when I want to track all the import purchases that I made. So you can simply create one account called purchase account and put it under purchase account also. Somebody they use cash purchase, credit purchase. So in this example case, I'm going by the classification of local purchases and import purchases. So when I go for import purchase group, I can see all the import related transaction. So once again, all I have to do is put the name of the purchase account, select the purchase account here, and then everything as it is, just press enter, enter, enter till you get the accept screen. Once this is done, we need the other ledgers such as the service provider ledgers that we talked about. So now I'm going to create a ledger for Saudi Customs Department payable ledger. This is a payable ledger. So normally in the import process, we actually once the shipment arrived at the port, we get notified by our agent to pay the customs. So sometimes even before we entering the purchase, sometimes even before that we receive the goods, we end up paying the Saudi customs. So depending on that, you can give a name, whether it is a payable or prepaid. In certain cases, the agent itself, he will pay the customs duty and then later he recover it from you. So either this case or that case, the most cases that I have seen is there you end up paying in advance and then you adjust later on. So I'm going to call this as a Saudi Customs Department prepaid, and I'm going to park this ledger under current liabilities because we are going to pay them at a later time. Right now, you can also create a subgroup. So normally what I advise is create a ledger called non-trade creditors, or you can also call it non-trade vendors, or whatever like naming you want to give, you can able to give that. So I'm going by non-trade creditors, which is going to be under current liabilities. It should not be under sundry creditors. Sundry creditors meaning trade vendors, trade accounts receivables, accounts payable. This is non-trade creditors, right? Enter, enter, and see. And that's it. Everything else remains the same, right? So no need to provide any other information for this. So all I have to do is give a name and give the grouping either directly under current liability or put it under a non-trade creditor, so that later on you can able to get some report out of that as well when you create a subgroup. And then just press enter, 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 and you are done. Now, second ledger I'm going to create is also for a service provider. So for our company, let's say, grocery for customs. So this is the agent that helps our company with the shipment import clearance. So that also I'm creating under non-trade creditors. And then I have one more company, which is SASO, right? So this also, sorry, also, this also I'm creating as a non-trade character. So whenever I import anything electronic and all, so I need to get these things, some certain things, certified. So those kind of things, for that there is a fee, that the fee that I pay to this specific company. So that also I'm creating as a non-trade creditors. So now we have enough service provider ledgers in the system. Second part would be the expenses part. So I'm going to create ledger for Saudi customs expenses. So this is going to be direct expenses. And then this is the crucial part. This is the part. So far, what we have done, this we have done million times in Tally. Like we created different ledgers for everything. So one different unique thing you do here is you have to press F12 and then bring up this option called select appropriation method to allocate additional cost. This part you have to enable it, right? So this is the unique thing you do. So then you will have this option appearing. Before it was not appearing, right? I will repeat once again. So what I did is, it was an option which should be there. It's not there. So I go to F12. That specific option that I'm looking for is this select appropriate method to allocate additional cost. So I enable this yes, enter, 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 and then I click on accept here. Now I can see method of appropriation in purchase invoices. Now I have this option. So what is this basically? So when we purchase a specific item and then when we have this additional cost, maybe in one single invoices there are 10 15 different items with a different value. So we want them to allocate the additional cost in appropriation to the value, right? So in some cases there are certain companies where the value doesn't have that much of difference between one to another, but it differs in the size and the quantity, right? In that case, we can go by appropriate by quantity as well. So now I'm going by appropriate by value, right? So maybe it is not clear, but just keep a note that at this level we need to choose appropriate by value, right? So once we enter the purchase entry, you will get some more clarity. But at this time, for any expenses, any additional expenses that we create, keep in mind that we need to have that method of appropriation purchase invoice should be appropriate by value, right? If that option is not there, what we will do, we'll go to F12 and then this option, select appropriate methods to allocate additional cost, we will enable that. Perfect. Now we save this ledger and then we have some other ledgers. Let's say transportation charges. This also we want to appropriate by value. And then I have certification charges. This also I'm going to choose appropriate by value. So all I'm just putting it under direct expenses. That will also, you will come to know why we are doing that. And then I'm going to go for agent service charges. That also I'm going to put under appropriate by value. You can see now, right? So where it got stopped? Azar?
Basit, that got stopped while you were doing the last ledger.
Last ledger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you, and yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So the ledger, so we are just going through all the ledgers that we have created. So the first ledger that I created is Nikai Group LLC. This is our supplier ledger. And then we created a import purchase ledger for classifying our purchases that we are doing from outside Saudi. And then I created a Saudi Customs Department prepaid ledger. This is what that I have created under non-trade creditors, which is under current liability. And then we have Saudi, Al Dosri for custom clearing. So this is our agent. And this is the agency for certifying our product. these are the service providers. And then we went into create the ledgers, which is Saudi customs expenses, transportation charges, certification charges, and then agent service charges. Correct? Now, this ledgers we have. Now I'm going to create the currency now. So currency creation is a very simple process. Again, we go to create, and then we have an option just under ledger currency, open currency, and then create new. Now I'm going to put the symbol for the currency, which is going to be, let's say in dollar case, shift F4, sorry, shift 4. And then formal name is going to be US dollar. Currency code, a simple Google search will give you the currency code for the any specific currency that you want, but normally US dollar is USD, EUR, INR, those kind of things. The number of decimal places is going to be 2, and then show amount in millions. Yes, remaining and all I'm going to keep as it is. So this is how we create currency. The simple process. Just to recap again what I did, from the main screen, go to create, select currency, create new, put the symbol of the currency you want. Formal name would be the currency's full name, right? You can go for United States dollar also. In this case, I think this is enough. And then USD, which would be the ISO code. Right? And then the number of decimal places, show amount in millions, yes, and that's it. We are golden. So we created the currency also by clicking here under here, accept. Now we have the currencies also ready. For one thing remaining is stock items. So I'm going to create 2 simple stock item. Let's create a this thing. So it's a simple creation of items, nothing complicated. There is no specific setting here. Just like normally how we create any number of items like that. So if anybody is new here, so create stock item. That's it. Simple 2-step thing. Now I'm creating a second item by giving the name of the item. Air modifier. Then this would be how we are going to measure in pieces. That's it. Rest all as it is. No need to change anything. Default Tally will pick up the default settings. Now I hope I have everything we need. So now let's start with the actual purchase entry, right? To give you more detail, I just have a Excel sheet with, we will use that Excel sheet. Okay. So this is the purchase invoice. Let's assume this is the purchase invoice we have. So I'm purchasing from this company. This is the invoice they have given me, and I'm going to start recording this. So here we have Nikkei 3-speed fan, 100 pieces, $18 per piece, 1800 total. And then we have a Nikkei air humidifier, 100 pieces again, $21, $2,100 in total. And then we have air freight, which we are paying to Nikkei for the transportation. And the exchange rate is going to be 3.86. So let's see how we can enter this specific purchases in Tally. So I'm going back to Tally now. Start to vouchers, and then F9 for purchase. Let's start entering the date, 11th May. And then the supplier invoice number, which is going to be this. To copy that. And invoice date is 8 May. And the client is Nikkei Group. So you have option to enter the receipt and order details. If you have, you can enter that. Now I'm proceeding with import purchase. Now the actual item, which is Nikkei's fan. How much we are purchasing? 100 pieces. Now comes the price. It's $18. So if I enter just 18, it is going to take real, right? To enter in dollar, all I have to do is just put the amount and then followed by the symbol $18 or $18. it will now consider this as a foreign currency. Now I'm going to enter here the exchange rate, which is 3.86 per dollar, right? Enter. Now at the bottom, just for reference, if you can have a look, so here it says 100 pieces, $1,800 at 3.86, converted into our base currency, which is Saudi Riyal, at 6,948. Now I'm going to go for the second item, which is air humidifier, 100 pieces again, and this is $21. The exchange rate taken automatically from the previous transaction, previous entry. So automatically 3.86 have taken, unless otherwise there is a change. So in most likely in one single transaction, the exchange rate is going to be the same only. It doesn't going to change for each item. Now, the next line item in the invoice is air freight. So supplier is charging $400 for the air freight. So how do we record this specific air freight in Tally? Like, we just need to create one more ledger. So this ledger, I have not created it. So a lot of the Tally veterans, they know how to create a ledger from the voucher. So from here, from the list, you can simply click on create. That will take you to the screen, or you can press Alt C also. Then it will take you to the ledger creation screen. Now I'm going to put air freight charges. And this I'm going to put it under direct expenses, right? And then this charges also should get allotted to the cost of the item. So for that purpose, I'm going to choose appropriate by value, and that's it, nothing else. Now here I'm going to put $400, and the same exchange rate from the previous entries. Now here we have $4,300 at 3.86 exchange rate of 16,598, right? So this is the purchase invoices. We entered it as it is. Now I'm going to save like a typical purchase invoice, right? So this is how we enter a basic foreign currency purchase invoice. Clear, right? Simple. So far, if you have any doubts, please use the Q&A to ask your questions. Now we have the other things. Now we have customs, right? So what we pay to the customs, basically the Jamaica invoice. Now, in some cases, in some companies, they are still paying VAT to the Saudi customs. For in some companies, even in some cases, there are some invoices, some imports without VAT, and some imports with VAT, right? So going back and forth. But the most cases that we have come across is where there is no VAT, like they stop charging VAT for the imports. So in your case, just in case that if they are charging VAT for the import, so how do we record that? So here they are charging 3,200 for the customs duty, and 345 real for handling charges, and 2,200 real they are charging you for VAT. So this is the this is the charges that we find on the Jamaica invoice, let's say. Now how do we enter this part? Now what we do is we have to split this into two transactions. Okay, one, these two we are going to add to the purchase invoice that we entered already. The other one we are going to add in a different way. Let's see how we do that. Okay, please pay close attention here. So if your company is still paying VAT at customs, so this is for you. So this is the Jamaica invoice details. This is what I found. So the total of these two is 3,545 riyal. Now I'm going back to the transaction, display, accounts book, purchase register, opening the purchase entry. Here, after the air freight charges, enter. and I'm going to add Saudi customs prepaid. How much? 3,000. Let's go back again. 545 riyal. And now this I'm not paying to Nikai. I'm paying to Saudi Customs Department. So for that purpose, we are going to select here. My bad. Okay. This is where you have to give a proper naming. So first would be the expenses. That would be 3,545 riyal. Then you have the Saudi Customs Department, the person that we are paying actually. Here, one crucial step is we need to enter the same amount in negative value, 3545 in negative value. I will show you also why we have to enter in negative value. So we entered this, right? So still, if you see here, the total remains the same for Nikai Group. Their outstanding did not change. This 3,545 did not get added to Nikai Group ledger. So what I did, I added Saudi Customs expenses 3545, and then the department that we are paying the same amount in negative, and I'm going to save this invoice now. Perfect, right? So now we have added one part of the entry. Other one is 2,200 that I have paid as VAT. So how do we do that? That can be entered in the journal entry. We'll go to vouchers, F7. Now here, like on the date of payment, let's enter on the same date as 11th May, just for clarity, 11th May. And then here it is going to be VAT. So let's create the VAT ledger. VAT I don't have yet. VAT. This is under duties and taxes. VAT. Okay, so we have the VAT ledger created. So we select the VAT ledger. We enter the amount 2,200, and then this what we did. We paid to the Saudi Customs Department, right? Not to Zatka or anything else. Saudi Customs Department. Basically, they are the same. So Saudi Customs Department prepaid. Now 2,200 VAT debit, 2,200 VAT credit. Now, one key thing you have to do here, right? In order for this VAT ledger to appear in the VAT return, I will just show you without doing that the key adjustment. So I'm saving as it is. Now, if I go to the VAT report, you don't see anything here. But we have included 2,200 in VAT. What it is not coming here. So what we didn't do is go back to the book. Let's do for 11th May. You see here in the journal, you will see stat adjustment. So here we need to choose that adjustment method. So here I'm going to choose for account for and claim VAT paid to customs during an import. So now I'm going to save this as accept. Now, just to show you, if I go back to the VAT return, let's do for May. So here we can see that 2,200 being recorded, right, as for the VAT. Is it clear? Now, other key thing I would like to show you is, now just to find out how much we have to pay to the Saudi Customs Department, if I open their ledgers, I can see here there is a payable of 5,745 riyal, which is equivalent of this. Correct. Right. So this is how we enter the Saudi Customs generic invoice in our system. So with VAT, this is how. So without VAT, how do we enter? So basically, we don't do that additional journal entry. So basically, this transaction, if you did not pay, if the Saudi Customs Department did not collect VAT from you at the time of import, you don't do this entry, and then that's it. You record the previous entry by just going back to the purchases, adding the Saudi expenses, Saudi Customs expenses, how much you paid, and by putting the value in negative there with the 3545. Now, as I said before, Nikkei group balance is 16,598 only. If I open their ledger, we are going to see only that amount as balance. Nothing else get added to the customer, supplier ledger as well. Now we'll move on to the invoice from the agent, this thing, right? So normally here also there is a concept where your agent will submit a invoice with bunch of some other invoices where certain charges are billed to you at actual. He paid 300 real, he will take from you 300 real. He paid 500 real and he will take from you 500 real. So you will see the original bill attached along with his invoices. And then there comes the transportation charges, labor charges, or any other service charges where he would be charging VAT for that, right? So how do we record that such expenses? So how do we do that? Same way, how did we enter the Saudi Saudi customs? So what we did, we went to display. So we keep on going back and editing the same purchase invoice and adding more and more value to that. Now I go to here. Now transportation charges, let's say 700 real. Labor charges have we created? No. What else we have? Agent service charges, let's say 500 real, right? And then what else we have? That's it. Now these two charges that we pay to our agent. So how do we do that? Now we select here Aldosri customs clearing, and then we enter the value here minus 1,200. Okay. So your agent, as I said before, he will charge you VAT as well, but not for the entire invoice amount, but for a specific one or two charges. So imagine in this case, transportation charges 700, there is no VAT. For the agent service charges, there is a VAT, 575 real VAT is there, right? How do we claim that input, right? So in that case, what we do is, after entering these expenses for the agent, we go back to the same journal entry, right? So we'll go to vouchers, same journal. Now, most of you have already guessed what I'm going to do. So I'm going to debit VAT, how much? 75, and I'm going to credit my agent, because from whom, to whom I'm paying. Now the adjustment is going to be stat adjustment. And then here one key difference is there. This is not related to like direct import. This is not a customs like a VAT that I pay to the customs. This is something different, right? So in this case, what I'm going to do is increasing of input tax, right? By adjusting that. So this, during the import, we are adjusting for increasing of input tax. By doing that, now if we go to supplier now, supplier ledger, display, accounts book, ledger, and then if I select here, Aldosri for custom clearing, we can see that 1200, 700 plus 500 is the invoice, and 500 there is a VAT 75 real. We can see the total of 1275, and then the main thing, which would be our VAT report. When we go to our VAT report here, we can see for May, we can see that 75 real as well, right? So it is getting included in our VAT return as well. Clear? So so far in our purchases, so we have allocated these cost. So agents, agent charges, air freight charges, and then customs duty as well. I hope so far everyone got the point, everyone got the concept of what we are trying to do. And if there is any doubt, if you want me to go through something over again, please let me know through the chat. Okay. Now what else is remaining? We have that certification charge that we created, right? So we'll do that also. So certification charges would be whatever the charges that we paid, and then the agency that we are going to pay the actual charge, that is going to be in minus. Correct. Now, this is all we entered, perfect, clear. Okay, we have accounted for all the additional costs that is there for the purchases. We have entered in foreign currency, everything is clear, perfect. We have accounted for the VAT. Now we save this entry for the first final time. Now what I want to see is like what is my cost, right? So that is the entire purpose of doing this. What is my true cost? What is my landing cost? How do you get to that? To get to that, this is the important report. Go to display, statement of inventory, movement analysis, and then stock item analysis. So to repeat again, shortcut key would be DEMI. Okay, DEMI. So once again, display, more reports, statement of inventory here, movement analysis, stock item analysis. From the main screen, if you just type DEMI, you will get to this screen. Now here, I'm going to open the first item here. So here I can see, so what is my base rate, right? Basic rate, 69.48. How this rate came to be, we'll go back to the Excel file now, to the original purchase invoice, which is $18 per piece. So I'm going to multiply this to 18 into 3.86, right? 69.48, correct? We can see that price here P, because we entered the same exchange rate basically. Now here the effective rate is 100 Riyal toll halala. How this came to be? So once we go down, we can see the details of additional cost. So there is an additional cost of 3064 Riyal 16 halala. So if you want to see the details of this additional cost, all you have to do is go to F12 and then you enable this option. Yes. Then save this by clicking on accept here. Now we can see, so air freight charges 712 Riyal, Saudi customs expenses 1636, transportation charges 323, agent service charges 230, certification charges 161.54, and then here we have total value of 10,012, which is divided by 100. Then you will get 100 Riyal toll halala. Now you may ask, like, what is how this rate came to be, right? So we have put here some different amount and how this rate came to be. So to give you an example, so I'm going to go with this 350 Riyal. Okay, so let me go back to Excel sheet, a new page. So I spent 350 Riyal on certification charges. I want to allocate these to two items. So one item is having $1,800, right? The other one is $2,100. So now the total is 3,900. Sorry, yeah, 3,900. Now I want to allocate this 350 into these two items. How do I do that? How do I appropriate? By proportion to the total. So I'm going to divide 1,800 divided by 3,900 and multiply that by 350. 161.5385. So if I round this off, 161.54. Now if I go back to the report and then let's see what is the charges it took. You can all see here 161.54. So can we see here? See, same thing I'm going to do for the second item. 2,100 divided by the total 3,900 multiplied by the value that we want to appropriate is going to be 188.46. If I round it off, 188.46. If I total this, we'll see the total of 350. See here. Now I will switch to the other item, air humidifier. So here I can see. Now let's enable the additional cost. here certification charges 188.46. So basically, this is how we appropriate the value. If you all goes back to the beginning of this webinar, when I created the expenses ledger, or mainly for the expenses, if you remember, I chose appropriate by value. This, by doing this, will give us the calculation there by appropriating the value whatever is parked here. So all the expenses ledger that we did, mainly certification charges, is selected appropriate by value, right? So this is the calculations that is being done in the background of Tally. Now you have appropriate by quantity also, right? So if you ask me what is appropriate by quantity, then so here what we did the value, right? Purchase invoices is like 1800 plus 2100. Now if it is a quantity, then we are going to take this one, 800. So it is going to be like 100 and then 100. Yeah, this is going to be 100 here, 100 here. You see that? Now it is allocating equal amount because both are equal in value. It is allocating in equal value. So if let's say you have two different items, one is worth more, one is worth less, and one is like heavier, one is lighter. So it depends on the type of item, the value of the item, worth of the item. You can choose whether to appropriate by value or appropriate by quantity, right? So this is the like how do we find out exact true cost of the item. Now anywhere you go in Tally, you are going to see, for especially for these items, the actual cost. So here we can see 100 real, right? For the other item we are going to see 116.81. okay. So this is how we find the true cost of item. I hope there are some questions, but before going into your questions, we have some FAQs. So let's do that FAQ and then we'll move on to that. Okay, so I think we have answered a couple of things already. So what happens to the VAT I paid to customs? So as I said, if you are one of the companies that's still paying VAT, like it's not up to us, of course. It depends on the customs department whether they are charging VAT at the time or not. So if they are, we just need to add that one more journal entry that we have seen before. And then how do I claim VAT I paid to the agent? Same way, we record in the purchase transaction all the amounts that the agent have given us except the VAT, and just for VAT we will issue a separate invoice, separate journal entry, right? And the other question is, what happens when I return the items? So it's a very rare cases, right? For the imports that we do normally, there is like we don't return that much, whatever like a damage or loss that happens, that we observe as a cost to the business. If in case that like some suppliers, they have this policy, like if the shipment got damaged or like like if not functioning as it's supposed to, so they will issue a credit note, right? But the cost that you have spent is added to the cost of the item, and that cannot be returned or made adjustment in any way. That answered the fourth as well, what happens when the good is damaged. So that again get added to the cost of the business itself. Now fifth is how to record multiple purchase consignment with single clearance invoice. So this is also some rare scenario where you may have multiple invoices from the supplier, right? So you have 3 different invoices, but that comes in a single container, correct? And so how do we enter that? So in normal Tally, you have the option to enter one purchase invoice with one clearance charges, one customs duty, and everything. So when you have multiple, you have to split the amount, right, outside Tally and then enter. If you are doing that in a more way, so we have some clients for whom this is their normal way of operating, where they have one container and 10 invoices, and they don't want to split manually. So there comes a customization where Tally will automatically combine, so split this one custom clearance invoices, one service charges into different consignments or purchase invoices. So with the customization help, we can able to do that, or we can manually divide the cost and then record in individual purchase invoices. And then sixth question would be, how do I control accidental sale of goods at lesser price? So this is also a valid question. Like a lot of people actually face this as a challenge, where we receive the goods and then we know certain cost then and there itself, like freight charges and all. Agents tend to submit the invoices, a week late or 10 days late, even in some cases month late. So in those cases, you can depends on your previous imports and previous knowledge, you can establish a price and enforce it outside Tally that this item has to be sold at this much price, not less than that. So that can be enforced in that way. But if you want Tally's help in that, there is a small add-on called below cost price control, where you can able to set up a below cost price control. Like for example, let's say you have a item, like in this case, so we purchased like a Nikkei 3-in-1 fan at 69 Riyal, right? So if I didn't enter any additional cost, so Tally is going to show me the cost is 69 Riyal only, but we have spent almost 30 plus Riyal in the cost. So in that case, I can put up a minimum percentage like 50%. So what it will do is 69 plus 50%, it will take minimum 35 Riyal, and I have to set my price above that only. If I'm trying to sell less than that, Tally will automatically block me. So those kind of add-ons can help you also with the controlling selling prices at a lesser level as well, right? So that concludes our FAQs. So now I will go back to the chat section, see if we have any questions on that. Okay. So far, no questions. Is there any chat? No. Okay. Okay. You have an option to unmute yourself as well if you want. Just raise your hand and you can ask your question if you have any. Or once again, you can use the Q&A section as well to ask your question away. So meanwhile, I will just go take us through the remaining part of the slide. So as all of you know, we are certified professionals from Tally with accounting background. We got recently awarded by Tally as Excellence at Champions. That is to recognize, continued, like delivering proper service to our customers. And we are present in Dammam and Riyadh, and so we are there. If you need any kind of on-site assistance or any customization to improve your business, we are there for you. And that's it. And very much thank you and appreciate your passion for learning. And we truly appreciate, like your passion for, using Tally to its fullest potential. That is our goal. Thank you once again for that.